Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And the NFL draft is over. We are officially going further into the 2026 NFL offseason. And tonight we are going to do a breakdown of all 7 of the Cowboys draft picks this past Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I appreciate you guys joining us. I see the viewers are starting to come in pretty quick. So thank you everybody who's joining us from the DC4L Facebook group. Definitely appreciate your support. For those of you who are watching right now, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit like. Give me a heart if you like what we're doing. Also share this broadcast. Share it to your personal page. Share it to your favorite Facebook group. We're gonna do a pretty good dive into all 7 players. And I think that the fan base will really appreciate just hearing my perspective on all of our draft picks. Had a great draft overall. I would give the draft a B plus, A minus. It was heavily defensive focused with a couple of offensive guys sprinkled in who may have an opportunity to be productive and help the team out in the near future. But the meat of this draft was in the defensive side of the ball. To be honest, I think we got at least 3 guys who will be starters in the next 2 years. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we get started, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. As you guys know, this is an interactive show. So we are fueled by Fifth Quarter Nation. So for those of you who are watching, always feel free to get in the comments. I'm watching the comments religiously. I try to put everybody's comment up and address it if I can. Let me know who you are, where you're from, how long you've been a Cowboys fan, what you thought about the draft in general, or what you thought about specific picks. Questions as to why you think we did or didn't pick certain guys, where we pick guys at. This is an open book tonight. So I'm going to talk about all 7 draft picks, but outside of that, we can go in any direction that you guys want. As you know, I don't try to hold you guys all night, so we'll try to get out of here as close to an hour as possible because I know you guys have a lot to do, and I appreciate you spending some time with me talking Cowboys football. So for those of you watching from DC4L, once again, hit that like button. Thank you guys for joining. For those of you who are not watching from DC4L, when you get a chance, go over to Facebook, type in DC4L. It's an overall safe space for Cowboys fans. We have about 11 admin who watch the group religiously. We don't allow any bullying. We don't allow any hate speech. We don't allow any political talk. It's just all around dialogue, discussion, and debate about all things Dallas Cowboys. So if you just want to have a conversation, or if you just want to keep up with current events with the Cowboys, it's a great spot to come through. People are posting all the time. I think we're at 30,000 people right now. So there's always some content to find out about. There's always some content to discuss. So make sure you guys go to Facebook and type in DC4L. For those of you watching from DC4L, when you get a chance, we also have a YouTube channel. So go on YouTube, type in DC4L, hit that subscribe button, help us on our path to 1,000 subscribers. And while you're on YouTube, go find me at Bluff City Cowboys. I'm going to put my YouTube in the comments. So if you guys get a chance after the show, maybe you'll go check that out. But also help me on my path to 1,000 subscribers as well. Once we both hit 1,000 subscribers, we will be doing a great giveaway. I think we're doing an autograph helmet. So if you guys want a chance to win a Cowboys autograph helmet, go over to YouTube, type in DC4L, type in Bluff City Cowboys, hit that subscribe button. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. First coming of the night, Russell Dyer. I knew this one was coming. Pickens is signed. Pickens is all signed, thank God. I'm assuming you mean good. Let me give you my thoughts on the Pickens signing and kind of what that means. And I said this 3 weeks ago. Pickens has to prove that he's a model citizen. I know people are talking about his value and how great of a year he had last year. That's all well and good. But at the end of the day, teams are not going to make a guy their franchise player and pay him $40 million a year if they feel like he's going to be a malcontent on a week-to-week basis. I mean, look at the Eagles. The Eagles are about to run A.J. Brown out of town. It happens all the time in the NFL. Look at Brandon Ayuk with the Niners. He's about to get ran out of town a year after signing a big deal. Teams don't want to take that chance and take those bites. So I know Pickens had a great year last year, but he has to prove it again. And in terms of the Cowboys and contracts, I said this 2 months ago. Pickens wouldn't sign a contract with Dallas this year if they offered him a contract. There's no reason for him to sign a contract this year because his market value next year is going to be even higher than it is right now because the ceiling of the wide receiver position is about to go up at least $5 million between now and next year. So let's say right now the ceiling for wide receivers is $42 million. Let's assume he gets a top 5 contract. That will put him right at 36 and a half, right over CeeDee Lamb. If he bets on himself and waits another year, that floor may go from 36 ceiling to a floor of 40. All if he has a productive year, keeps his nose clean, keeps his head down, and he's a model citizen. So he has a lot to play for. And I feel like him signing that franchise tag was a sign of, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here day one. I'm not going to be a distraction. I'm going to keep my head down. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to be the best player I could be for the next year. Now, that could all change. The fact that he signed the franchise tag tells me either what I just said, one, or two, there's a deal on the way. Now, with a franchise tag, you don't have to sign it early to make a deal happen. So if there's no deal that happens within the next 24 hours, that means he didn't sign it to get traded. Because typically, when guys have a franchise tag, they will sign their franchise tag and then the trade happens within 5 hours. So unless we wake up tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon and there's a trade on the ticker with George Pickens, I doubt he's getting traded because the Cowboys have said several times they're not trading him. And by the way, the ball is in the agent's court. The agent said, I wanted to go out and get him the most money possible. The Cowboys said, fine, here's your non-exclusive franchise tag. You have the rights to go negotiate any trade you want, negotiate any contract you want. The Cowboys have said, we're wiping our hands of it. If you can go find a great deal, go find it. And if we can match it, we will. If not, it's all on you. So people are overreacting about the Cowboys saying they're not going to negotiate a contract. The non-exclusive franchise tag says that. Why would they negotiate with him when they've given him the rights to negotiate with all 31 other teams? That would just be them spinning their wheels. It's the agent's job to go find the best deal possible. And once that contract comes back to the Cowboys and it's in ink, then Dallas can say, we'll match it or we'll let you go. And that's what the non-exclusive tag means. So all this, Dallas doesn't want to play ball with him and Dallas is playing tough. No, Dallas gave him what he wanted. The ball is in the agent's court to negotiate a contract. And to date, we have not heard a rumor about a single trade or a single contract. So that's not on the Cowboys. That's on the agent and the people that represent him. Russell Dyer said he said tonight he always planned to when he said he was going to do before the draft. They said Pickens waited until now to sign because he did want to make sure he wasn't traded. He wants to be here. That could be true. And that lines up to what happened. Absolutely. I see we got Jeff joining us on YouTube. Jeff, appreciate you joining in. I appreciate everybody who's hitting that like button. I see those likes are still going up. Let's get a few more in there. Appreciate you guys who hit that like button. Got our regular Shane Odom back. Shane, good to have you back. All good things come to an end, just like old Bluff City Cowboy podcast with Dale picks. I'm still working hard to get Brandon back, but Brandon has 5 kids. His sons are heavily active in sports. Both of his sons play football. One of his sons is already one of the top track runners in the state of Tennessee at like 11 years old. So he's a sports dad right now. He does not have time to come on this show. But if I can get him on, I will. There was no ill will between us. We still talk all the time. But life just happens sometimes, and you gotta move on to the next thing. I see we got one of my classmates in here, longtime Cowboys fan, Raphael Govan. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Appreciate you clocking in. And we got William Wiggins joining us as well. So like I said, those of you watching, get in the comments. Let me know who you are, how long you've been a Cowboys fan, what your thoughts are about this draft. So we're at 12 minutes right now. I'm usually pretty strict about trying to keep you guys at an hour, so we'll go ahead and get into it. Russie, I don't know what that says, but do you got a page on TikTok? I'm an old man. I'm gonna be honest. I'm an old man. I'm an old soul. I don't do TikTok. I don't even have a TikTok page. Personally, I don't have a TikTok page. All I do is Facebook, X, and Instagram. So no, I don't have a TikTok page at all. Probably won't be getting one either. Russell Dyer says, I've been a fan of 50 years. Congrats to you, Russell Dyer. You've seen all the goods and all the bads. So I know you're still waiting for that title, just like the rest of us are. Hopefully you'll see one in the near future. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. I don't want to keep you guys holding on for too long. Tonight's topic is all the draft picks in the 2026 NFL draft. So we'll go through all the draft picks and I'll give you my thoughts on strengths, weaknesses, and what we can expect from all these players. So let's go ahead. We'll get into it. All right, so we'll start off. We're going top to bottom with our first pick, Mr. Caleb Downs from The Ohio State University. By far, the best pick in the draft. Most people had him either number 1 or number 2 on their boards, and we were able to get him at number 11. Everybody said he's one of the smartest prospects they've seen. Great instincts. He's going to come in day one and be the quarterback of the defense. If you watched our draft show, I mentioned that the reason I don't think they're getting linebackers like we wanted is because Caleb Downs is going to be our green dot processor guy. So we're just focusing on getting linebackers who can run and hit and cover in space, because this kid is not leaving the field. He's going to be playing free safety. He's going to be playing strong safety. He's going to be playing nickel. He's probably going to be playing a little bit of linebacker too in certain packages. He's going to be all over the field, and he's going to be like a second coach on the field. Jeff, I don't even know what college club is. William Wiggins said, I'm loving Downs. Beyond that, not sure. Hopefully, with the information I give you tonight, William Wiggins, I can help kind of ease your mind and change it about what we have. So, I don't just go and look at what other people say. I do like to watch games for myself. So typically what I like to do, I'll watch at least 3 games of every player. And when I choose 3 games, I try to choose their best game, number 1. Number 2, their best matchup. And then number 3, the best team that they play competitively with. So we'll talk about this later in the show. But if Michigan played Ohio State, no, not Michigan. Let's say UCF played Ohio State with Malachi Lawrence. If they beat them 40-7, that's not a good game for me to watch because I won't be able to really analyze what a guy like Malachi Lawrence would do. So I'm going to watch the best team they played that the game was competitive because I get to see him where he doesn't get to pin his ears back and rush the passer all day, or he's not just playing the run because they're trying to run the clock out. So I try to pick competitive games that have the best matchup possible and then their best game. So for Caleb Downs, I had a lot of choices to go through. He had a lot of great games, and they played a lot of very talented teams. So for I watched in 2025, I watched Michigan, Texas, Indiana, and Miami. So the four things that really stand out about Caleb Downs, number one, high football IQ. If you watch the games, and I talk about this every year, when I'm watching a defensive guy, I like to watch who points because people who are pointing are usually people who are instructing. The guys who aren't pointing usually are just reacting and listening. They're not really the leaders. Caleb Downs is coming from the secondary down to the linebackers. He's pointing stuff out. He's shifting guys and backpedaling. He's doing everything on the field. He's an elite tackler. I don't think in the 4 games I watched, I saw him miss a tackle. I know people were concerned about him being only 205, but he gets everybody on the ground, no question. So I'm not concerned about that. Great tackler. He's a ball hawk. He doesn't have a lot of turnovers, but he's always around the ball making knockdowns and making plays. So he's going to find the ball, and that comes back to being such a high processor and being able to spot things out before they happen. Russell Dyer said, love the pick, surprised the Giants didn't take him. I am too. It was definitely a blessing in disguise for us, but their loss is our gain. Shane Odom asked a question, and this is a legitimate question, Shane. Most people always ask this question when it comes to any player. If he was 1 or 2 on people's boards, how did he drop to 11? Is there something we are missing? Okay, great question. I'm going to tell you my thoughts. I don't know if this is true or not, but I said this live during the show. Once we got to pick number 3 and the Cardinals took once we got to pick number 2 and the Jets took Bailey after not even giving him a visit, I think that screwed the whole board up. So, you get to number 2. Number 3, a lot of people had Jeremiah Love as their number 1 player. So now the Cardinals are sitting there, and they're like, our number 1 guys on the board that we didn't expect to be there. We got to take them. Then you go to pick number 4. Pick number 4 is the Titans. Now, Caleb Downs may have been higher on their list, but I talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago. When you look at teams and how they choose draft picks, team needs, positional value, strength of the draft, and the talent level of the player. The Titans have to get a wide receiver for their quarterback. So no matter how good they felt Caleb Downs was, the positional value of him as a safety was not as high as the need to get a receiver for their first round pick last year. Just like Raphael said, teams undervalue safeties. That takes us to pick 5. The Giants probably had Arvell Reese as the number 1 guy on their board. So they're in the draft room. They're like, Arvell Reese fell to 5. We did not expect this to happen. Just to be true to our board and the months of scouting we've done, we got to take them. That's why I think the Giants went the way they went. And then from there, you go back to team needs. The Chiefs just traded their cornerback. They have to take the best corner in the draft. He's right there. Then you got the Saints. The Saints probably had Jordan Tyson as the number 1 receiver. Most of us did. You have to take him right there. Go back to the Giants again. The Giants got a first round pick at quarterback last year. He was the second most sacked quarterback in the league. The number one tackle is on the board. You got to take the tackle over the safety. And then to secure us, we trade up to get Caleb Downs. So whether people had him number one on their boards, those team needs started to creep up, I think, and that's what made him fall to 11. But there's not a lot of weaknesses in his game, Shane Odom. I would not be concerned about that. So let's talk about strengths and weaknesses. Biggest strengths, number one, great processor, elite instincts. You can watch the game and you can see he sees stuff before it happens and he makes a play on it. So he's going to be all over the field. He's great in run support. Like I said, I watched 4 games closely, didn't see him miss a tackle. So he's going to be great in run support, which is one of our biggest needs, and great in open field tackling. I talked about his versatility. He's going to play free safety. He's going to play strong safety. He's going to be down in the box. He's going to be playing deep. He's even going to be playing some nickel for us in the slot. He's going to be all over the field. He's going to never leave the field. And then he's a natural leader. I think he's going to come in and be one of our vocal leaders from day one as a rookie. Christian Parker loves him. And you can see their relationship from their interactions with each other if you kind of watch the clips that are out there. This kid is going to be something special. When I watch him play, there are only 2 real weaknesses you can look at. Number one, you expect a guy who's 5'11", 205 to be a burner. He's not really a burner. He's a high 4'4", low 4'5" guy. But his instincts and football processing help make up for that lack of athleticism. 4'5" is still fast, more than fast enough in NFL, but he's not going to be one of your top end speed guys. Second weakness, sometimes he can be overly aggressive and vulnerable on certain plays. When you watch, it's kind of like that kid in elementary school who's just way too smart and it's almost boring to him. So he has to be a distraction to keep himself occupied. That's almost what you see with Caleb Downs. And by the way, that team was loaded. So there's really not a lot for him to do sometimes. So he may just go off script because the talent of the team is going to make up for it. Sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. But call a spade a spade, call a spade a spade. It can look like he's being overly aggressive or he's trying to make a big play and he bites down too quick on something and he may give up a big play. Doesn't happen often, but you can definitely see that he's the type of person that will try to jump stuff. And people say that's a weakness, but you look at the all-time greats like a Ed Reed or a Troy Polamalu or guys like that. They made their money off being overly aggressive because of how smart they were. So it's going to pay off way more than it's not, and it did in college. If you want to watch a great game for him, go and find that Michigan game. You saw a lot of his versatility. Michigan was a very heavy run team last year, and you can see him helping in run support and then just overall leadership. Great player, A++ pick. All right, let's go to our second first-round pick, and that is Malachi Lawrence. Now, this one has gotten a lot of scrutiny and criticism throughout the fan base, and for good reason. He's not a finished product, but when I watched him play, I'll say this: there were not a lot of top level competition that he played against. So I had to go back to 2024 to get a couple of high level games that he played against. So I watched him in 2025 against Houston and Oklahoma State. And then in 2024, they played Arizona State. First overall pick, Eon, that was just drafted. He was the tackle at Arizona State 2024. And Malachi Lawrence played against him. And then I watched him against Florida. So high level of competition game. So what I noticed about him, all the traits you want for a defensive end, he has them. 6'5", 33.5-inch arms, 4.5 speed, super explosive first step. He may have the best first step in the draft. When he fires off the ball, he is firing off. He has a lot of great pass rush upside. And this can, I put it in weakness, but from what I saw on tape, this could be a strength or a weakness. One thing I noticed about him, he's not technically sound. He plays off field. So what I mean by that is his instincts kick in so quick that if he sees a guy kind of shading outside, he immediately swims inside and then explodes. Or if he sees a guy kind of coming off the line slow, he'll dip that shoulder and then get that speed around the corner. So while I don't think he knows what he's doing, but his instincts are so good that they help him out. And I think having somebody like Brandon Jordan and our defensive staff, they're really going to help hone his instincts and also teach him a little bit of technique about why he should do stuff and how, and it's going to make him a better player. With all those traits, he has an extremely high motor. So if you got a guy with high traits and a high motor, I'm going to take him in the first round every time. He also has edge versatility. He's explosive enough that he can play right end and go against left tackles. He's strong enough that he can go to left end and hold up against the run against right tackles. So I think he's going to immediately come in and be our swing edge from left and right. He's probably not going to be a starter, but I would be shocked if he doesn't play 40 to 50% of the snaps every week, just like the starters would. So let's talk about a few of his strengths. And again, if anybody has any questions, any comments, please feel free to put them in the comments so we can talk about them. So a few of his strengths, like I said, explosive first step. As soon as the ball snapped, he's firing off like he has a jetpack on. He's very disruptive, extremely high motor. Sometimes it's hard to tell if he gets beat because he's always moving and he's always pushing guys back. He wins with speed as well as power. He has the raw traits and he knows how to use them. He just needs some refinement to kind of figure things out. We go to some of his weaknesses. He doesn't have much of a pass rush arsenal. Again, it's all field with him. He can dip, he can swim. He hasn't really learned how to use hand placement yet, so he doesn't know how to get that punch on that outside shoulder to make that tackle turn. He hasn't got a spin move yet. He doesn't know how to knock tackles' hands down when they try to grab them. But the talents he does have, he's been using them to be one of the top pass rushers in college. So really the sky's the limit with him. This kid has all the traits in the world to be something special. And I said before the draft that he was one of my top 5 pass rushers. Really, he was number 3. I had number 4. I had Bailey, Bang, Cassius Howell, and then Malachi Lawrence. I had him over R. Mason and I had him over Mesidor. That's because of the talent level. And unlike a guy like a Mesidor, he's still learning. He's still growing. He's still getting stronger. He's only going to get better. So people are saying he's going to have a red shirt year. I don't think it'll be a red shirt year. He may not be a starter, but he's definitely going to be active and he's going to be productive. I would be shocked if he doesn't have at least 4.5 to 6 sacks in his first year. And people will say, well, that doesn't sound like a lot of sacks. But for most rookies, that's usually a really good year. to have 6 sacks in their rookie year. I think he has that ability. All right, so let's go to day 2 of the draft. And we go back-to-back pass rushers. And we got Jayshon Barham. Now, this was probably one of my favorite picks in the draft, to be honest. Shouts out to my guy Dom. I'm sure you guys follow him on social media. Dom has been talking about Jayshon for quite a while now. Michigan is one of the teams that I really follow, along with Ole Miss and Clemson. So I've been kind of familiar with him for a while. He's kind of a tweener guy. I watched 4 games because he played linebacker and defensive end. I wanted to watch 2 games at linebacker and 2 games at defensive end. So in 2025, when he was strictly a pass rusher, I watched the USC game and the Nebraska game. And if you want to get excited, go watch that USC game. I just leave it at that. Then in 2024, I watched Minnesota and I watched Michigan State. Now, what stands out to on him is, number one, he is a sideline-to-sideline player. He does not mind tracking down a play from the backside. He's also an explosive blitzer. He blitzed a lot from the inside in 2024. And I think just showing those traits in 2024 made them think, if he's rushing like this from the inside, why don't we try him on the outside? I think that's kind of what happened. So he's a super explosive blitzer. He's a physical tackler. He tackles to hurt people. You can see it on tape. There's no slamming a guy on the ground. There's no leg wraps. He's trying to run through guys when he tackles. And he's a versatile defender. He plays middle linebacker and he plays outside as well. Personally, I think he's either going to be our starting linebacker or he's going to be heavily involved. Remember what I said. Caleb Downs allows us to not have to have a true middle linebacker that's a green dot guy, because he's going to be doing it, I think. So now you can put athletes in the middle who can play in space and who can get to the quarterback, who can get guys on the ground. And I don't think we have a better guy on the team right now than this kid right now. Now, he's going to need some refinement because he's a rookie and he's been kind of a tweener. But in terms of just physicality and aggressiveness, I don't think we have anybody close to him. If you guys think Leofow is playing with his hair on fire, if Leofow's a 7, this kid is a 10. Let's talk about some of his strengths. First of all, extremely physical. Plays downhill all the time. Sideline to sideline. He's super explosive. He has good closing speed. He's a 4.6 guy, which for a linebacker defensive end, that's more than fast enough. He's going to chase stuff down from the backside as an edge, and he's going to shoot gaps as an inside linebacker on inside plays. And if you watch him play, it looks like he almost enjoys just going straight into a guard's face and knocking them backwards. Something we haven't seen with the Cowboys in a very long time from an inside linebacker. Just go watch that Minnesota game in 2024 and you'll see it. That guard was sick of him because anytime they ran the ball inside, it was like pow right in the face, straight through his chest. So he's definitely going to bring a lot of physicality to this team. He needs to be able to control it a little bit because sometimes he can get a little wild and loose, but you want to have to tame a guy down than ramp a guy up, and you don't have to ramp this guy up at all. Some of the weaknesses. His coverage ability is still a work in process. Now, one thing I did notice in the Michigan State game, they kind of picked on him a little bit as a linebacker in space. They have a really good running back who was going out of the backfield. Now he was there, but he was just a second off. And I think a lot of that was kind of because of processing. Because he gets tunnel vision on the quarterback. If you watch him play, he doesn't look around to see who's coming in his zone. He's watching solely the quarterback's eyes. Now, if he was a little bit more athletic to be able to jump routes, that would be a great thing. But since he's not that type of athlete, he needs to have more awareness of what or who's around him in space. And I think a good linebacker coach will kind of show him that. The good thing about it, again, you've got a Overshown. You've got a D Winters. You've got Justin Barron. You've got Shamar James. You got guys who have a little bit more athleticism in space who can help kind of hide him in coverage. And then you also have Caleb Downs as well who can help hide him in coverage. So you don't necessarily need him to carry a tight end downfield or cover that running back on a swing route. You've got guys who can do that. Now, sometimes they may isolate him, but I don't think it's going to be enough where we're not going to see him at linebacker, because at the end of the day, we can always just send him on that blitz from the inside. But I think he's good enough to play off ball. He's definitely a first and second down linebacker, no question. If it's third and long, I'll probably try to get him off the field. But if it's first and 10, second and 8, third and 4, I think he's more than capable enough of being an inside linebacker. And he's not that big. People talk about him being a pass rusher, but he's only about 245. That's the size of a lot of big linebackers in the league. And they don't move nearly as good as him, and they've been extremely successful. Bobby Wagner immediately comes to mind. Not saying this kid is Bobby Wagner, but that's just an example of a big linebacker who may be a liability in coverage, but it doesn't matter because he does everything else so well. Going back to those weaknesses again, I just talked extensively about coverage ability. He needs help with that. He definitely can struggle in space versus quicker athletes. He does need some refinement in diagnosing offenses. I just talked about all that. He gets tunnel vision when it comes to a quarterback, and he tries to read the quarterback's eyes too much instead of focusing on what's around him. Another strength I didn't put up there, aggressiveness. When I watch him play, if you think about, like, imagine you see two guys trying to fight, right? And then there's another guy or two trying to hold one guy back, and that guy's kind of fighting both guys to get through and get to the guy he wants. That's how this kid plays defense. He plays super aggressive. He plays like, I'm mad at the guard, I'm mad at the tackle, I'm mad at the running back, I'm mad at the quarterback. Everybody's going to pay. He's going to quickly become a fan favorite. I honestly feel sorry for any tackles we have on the second and third unit, because he's going to give them fits the entire training camp. I really like this pick. To be honest, if I knew this pick was coming in the third, I probably would have taken Cassius Howell over Malachi Lawrence, because while Lawrence is a much better overall defensive end, Howell is great against the pass rush. And if I knew I had a bigger guy like this who can kind of supplement, I probably would have taken Howell. But I still love Malachi Lawrence as a talent. All right, so now let's go to day 3, going to the 4th round. And again, any questions, any comments, any thoughts about anything I said, please hop in the comments and let me know what you think. All right, so we go to the 4th round, and I'm pretty sure I got these out of order. But next pick, Drew Shelton, offensive tackle, Penn State. Now, I've seen people who don't like this pick. I really like this pick. When I watch this kid play, When I watch a tackle in general play, I look for three things. I look for arm length. I look for kick slide, and I look at feet. He has the arm length, great feet. He probably has the best feet on the team coming on the roster right now. Amazing feet for a left tackle. Going back to the Shane Odom comment earlier, I can say all this positive stuff about him, but he fell to the fourth round for a reason. Also, 38 starts in the Big Ten. So he's seen Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, Iowa. He's seen a lot of top level teams with a lot of very physical players, and he's held up and made some all Big Ten teams. So again, good size and length. He's a pure left tackle, long arms, amazing feet, great lateral movement. He has great technique, but he still needs some refinement. Super high potential. If I've heard that he's worked on his strength in the weight room in the offseason, if he can get his strength up, he could be a day one starter, and I would not be concerned. His feet are that good to stay in front of guys. So again, good size, long arms, 6'5", 312. Textbook left tackle. Moves well laterally, sound, and pass protection. He has a very high floor because of how great his feet and athleticism are. But when you look at the weaknesses, his biggest weakness is he needs strength. Now, personally, I would rather have a tackle with great feet that I need to get stronger than a tackle who's strong that I need his feet to be better. Because you can't teach height, you can't teach speed, and you can't teach feet, in my opinion. You can get a guy stronger, but you can't teach him to have great feet like this kid has. He's got an opportunity if he can get in the weight room. So he definitely needs to get stronger. Because of that lack of strength, he gets pushed back by power rushers. Watch the game against Ohio State and Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese was definitely playing bully ball with him. He was basically just going through his chest and just pushing him back. I've seen him get knocked on the ground quite a few times. Ohio State game, Indiana game in particular. Just big physical grown men playing against him. He was right there, but because he lacks that strength, he was able to get kind of bullied and knocked over. He needs another problem I have. I don't see that killer instinct in him. And I mean, it's not 1995 anymore, so everybody doesn't have to be a bully, but I would still like to see a little bit of that nastiness come out of him, because every other offensive lineman we have has that nasty. Now, the fact that the other four guys have it and he doesn't, that might be okay because we have enough of it there. But I would like to see it a little bit more in him. And when I say that, I mean, when he blocks guys, he doesn't drive them or he doesn't try to pancake. He just does like what I see high school kids do, where he'll get around and he'll just shield them. So he'll be there, but he won't try to push them. He'll just shield them to make a gap for the running back. And it's effective. But at the NFL level, he's going to have to move some guys. Another weakness that I saw, I didn't put this in my notes because I don't know if a lot of people understand it. He is he's a two-hand pass rusher. And I'm not a big fan of that. Every time he pass rushes, he comes over both hands like this. Now, the problem with this is when you come up with both hands, if you're playing a talented pass rusher, if both your hands are up, they can slap both of them down, and now you're screwed. Or they can knock him to the side, and now you've turned your body and gave him this. I would like to see him be more of a independent pass rusher where you come off the line, you get that jab, and if the jab hits, then you bring the other hand. And if the jab doesn't hit, then you can pull this one hand back and use this hand to counter, or you just reset. But if you come out like this, if you miss, it's gonna be bad. And I've watched him play in 4 games. I watched every snap. Not one time did he do a one-handed block. It was always 2 hands. Now, because of his great feet, he was able to get in front of guys and get in his spot and be effective. But when he missed, it was a lot of slap his arms down, he's giving up the backside, or slap his hands down, he's lunged over, or he just misses in general, and it's kind of one of those Olay things. I talked about the Olay stuff with Tyler Guyton last year, where you just completely miss a guy, and now it's like you have nothing to grab, and it just turns out bad for your quarterback. So I need to see him, and I've heard he's been working with Duke Manyweather in the offseason, so I need to see more of a one-hand punch from him. The 2-hand is good when it works, but it's bad if it doesn't. Jeff asked the question, Guyton to right tackle, Sheldon at left. I would say yes. I think Shelton is a pure left tackle. If you draw up what you want a left tackle to be, he's going to be one of those drawings because he has everything except strength. And again, we can work on strength in one offseason. He could be good enough by week 5 to be the starter just off of better technique and getting in the NFL program. It just depends on how hard he wants to work. But this pick has the ability, 2027, we've got a left tackle of the future we don't have to worry about for at least 5 years because his feet are just amazing. So I'm really excited about this pick. And I know a lot of the fan base didn't like it because they wanted an all defense draft. But this kid has a shot to hide a lot of the Tyler Guyton, Terrence Steele woes that we've seen, because Terrence Steele has terrible feet and it shows on tape all the time, slow feet. And while Guyton has the aggressiveness, his feet aren't that good either, especially for the left side. Maybe you put him at the right, he'll be better. So I think if this kid can pan out, he'll make our offensive line flawless because you can move Guyton to right tackle in his natural position. I think even despite the strength issue, I think he can come in now and be a better left tackle than Guyton. It remains to be seen. Hopefully he proves me right. But yeah, I think he's going to be a starting tackle sooner than later. All right, let's go from a pick that most people didn't like to what seems like everybody's favorite pick. And that is cornerback Devin Moore from Florida. Now, when I watch him play, initially when I watched him, I wasn't really paying attention to him because I was just remembering from what I saw in games. And I thought his hips weren't good until I went back and watched. And shouts out to Jeff for making me go back and watch a second time. He has really good feet. He has fluid hips as well. He's able to turn and mirror guys pretty good. He's not the fastest. He doesn't play to his time speed, but he has really good recovery speed. And he's 6'2" with long arms. So that length makes up for the lack of speed. He has great ball skills, and that helps make up for lack of speed as well. So he may get beat off the line, but because of his long arms and being 6'2", he's able to recover while the ball's in the air and make a play on the ball. And he plays tough. He's great as a press and release guy. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him in camp. He does not lack for confidence. I'll tell you that. He's a natural Florida kid. Those Florida kids are just built different when it comes to skill positions. You can go back as far as you want. You get a kid from Florida who played at Florida and they come to the NFL, you got a different type of swag, and he carries all of that. It came out during the secret audio that he told the coach, "I'm going to be your best corner on your team," and this was after being drafted in the 4th round. And I feel like he's going to definitely come and try to back that up. I think Devin Moore kicks Carson off the team. He's definitely kicking somebody off the team, Raphael. We'll talk about that in a minute once I go through his strengths and weaknesses. So let's go to his strengths. First of all, I watched him play against Georgia. Of course, you got to watch Georgia. Then I watched him against Ole Miss this year. And then I had to go back to 2024 because he missed a lot of games, which is one of his weaknesses. And when I think of a game, I think of it, like I said at the beginning of the show, I want to watch him play against a good team. I want to watch a close game, and I want his matchup to be good. If you guys remember what Tennessee had in 2024, they had 2 wide receivers that were both 6'4", run a 4.3. One of them plays for the Raiders right now. Devin Moore more than held his own in that game against both those receivers. Thornton was drafted last year, and then the other kid, I believe, was drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round this year. Both of them 6'3", 6'4", 4.3 speed, freak athletes. Devin Moore was right there with him the whole game. So great hips, great recovery speed. He's really good in man coverage because of his great hips and great feet and his length as a player. So he's able to get up and press a guy and then stay close to him. He plays the ball well at the catch point. Again, he has great hands, long arms. All this stuff just comes natural to him. Then you go to weaknesses. Now, these weaknesses, the first 2, they're pretty common for what you would see in a cornerback. His technique is inconsistent. When you're 6'2", long arms in college, sometimes you just rely on physical gifts than technique, and you can definitely see that. And if he gets beat off the line, he can get a little bit grabby. He can get a little bit grabby to kind of make up for it. But he has good enough feet and hips that if he gets with a real coach, and by the way, our defensive coordinator is an excellent DB coach. So I'm really excited to see what he can do with this kid. He needs better awareness in zone. He tries to be a straight man corner. So sometimes when you put him in space, it's hard when you got a man corner in space because he's always looking for action. And sometimes his eyes may lead him in the wrong direction. You see that with him. Durability is a concern. I think he's missed at least 4 games every year of college. Fortunately for us, none of these are like serious injuries that he had to go out and have surgery or something. It was all just 3 weeks with an ankle, 2 weeks with 3 weeks with the ankle, 3 weeks with a calf strain, sore quad, stuff like that. I don't think it'll be something we should be too concerned about. Luckily, I don't think we'll have to rely on him heavily. So even if it does happen, it won't be a detriment to the team. But if he can get past that, like Raphael said, he's kicking somebody off the team. Now, going back to what Jeff was telling, Jeff talks about this all the time with me. He would love to see us be able to put Bland in the slot full time. Now, the coaches have said Bland's going to be an outside corner. This was before the draft. If this kid pans out the way I think he can, he's going to allow us to put Bland back in the slot because now you've got Revel on one side and then you've got Kobe Durant on the other side and you've got Devin Moore as your swing outside backup corner. So you got 3 corners that are big and physical on the outside. And now if one of them goes out, you don't have to put Bland on the outside to supplement. You can throw Devin Moore in. So I think he's going to really help us lock in with Deron Bland and keep him on the inside. Um, when we start training camp at OTAs, they'll probably start playing on the outside just because he's the veteran and you want the veterans on the outside with our receivers. But eventually, if Devin Moore stays healthy and he keeps his confidence up, I would be shocked if he's not playing significant snaps by the time we hit week 1. Now, we've got a lot of corners, and Raphael talked about kicking Carson off the team. It's a couple of guys that should be concerned. Carson, if Bland can go inside full time, that makes Reddy Stewart expendable. I don't know what they're gonna. As much as I love Zion Childress, I don't know where they're gonna play him at. If they play him at corner, Devin Moore is gonna make him have a hard time staying on the team. Josh Butler missed all of last year. Josh Butler hasn't played a meaningful game in almost 2 years. And Josh Butler has no sponsors in the locker room or in the coaching staff. So if Josh Butler doesn't start off fast, which I really like Josh Butler, but if he doesn't start off fast, Devin Moore's kicking him off the team. I think Carson, because he's a great tackler and he can play inside, outside, I think he may have a chance to stick around if he can stay healthy. I really feel like it'll be Reddy Stewart, Darion Kendrick, and Josh Butler who will be the guys who will be kind of the odd man out. But I really like Devin Moore after really locking in on this game. And there's one guy I forgot to mention. Trequezie Bridges, 5th round pick for the Chargers last year. He got cut, played a couple of games for the Cowboys. To be honest, he didn't look good, but he played at Florida with Devin Moore in 2024. He played free safety, played strong safety, and then the last 6 games of the season, he started at outside corner, and he looked really good in Florida. He's 6'2". He's got long arms, and he runs a 4.3. I think between him and Devin Moore, they're both going to have a serious opportunity to compete this year. I don't think Trequezie Bridges got an opportunity last year to show himself, but I think if he gets a chance this year with his traits and his flexibility, I think he has an opportunity to make this team. Jeff says Bridges will be out too. I think Bridges has a shot to take somebody's spot. I would probably put Bridges and Carson against each other as the guy who stays on the team because they can both play inside out. So I'm really looking forward. I'm excited about seeing Devin Moore going against the George Pickens in the offseason. And now that takes us to our last pick because we traded our 2 5th round picks to move up for Caleb Downs. And then we traded our other 5th round pick to trade for D Winters. So we go to the 7th round. Oh, I forgot our other pick. I'm sorry. LT Overton was our other 5th round pick. We did have a 5th round pick. Now, I'm kind of torn on this one. I watched him play. He played against Georgia, Missouri, Tennessee, all really good teams, all great tackles. He has a great first step. I will give him that. He's an experienced guy. He has good pass rush moves. He already has a good understanding of hand placement. He has a high motor. And for a guy his size, he has really good bend and speed. So he understands how to do counters. He has relentless effort. He has a little bit of bend for his size as a left end in college. The problem I see is he's a tweener. I don't think he's going to stand up. I don't think he's going to play end on this team. He has to play 3-tech, 4-eye, or 5-tech. And at 275, he's just not big enough. He's going to have to put on some more strength, and he's probably got to put on about 10 more pounds. His run defense can be a little bit inconsistent. He gets what I would like to call tunnel vision, where he's busy kind of hand fighting the guard or the tackle, then making a play on the runner. And talking about that, sometimes his hand usage has a problem, and he's busy trying to reset his hands and get leverage than going to make a play on the ball. So I think he's probably going to be a red shirt type guy. I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see him much, if at all, during preseason, so they can try to hide him and stash him on the practice squad, because I think they're going to have to reshape his body for him to be effective on this team. And if you look at what we have right now, and this is one of those phrases I like to use, one of these things is not like the other situation. When you look at all of our defensive tackles, everybody's 290 and up, and then this kid is 275. And we already have 5 defensive tackles who are 290. There are only so many spots on the team, and I don't think that he's going to be able to come in and get the size and strength to be able to overtake some of the guys we already have. So I'm kind of agree with Jeff on this one. I didn't understand the pick. Raphael said, I think Caleb DeBoer's system didn't fit him. That could be true as well. But when I look at this scheme and I look at the D tackles we have, he just doesn't fit what we have already. And I don't think he's special enough that you take him as an outlier and like give him situations where he can succeed. I think he gets a red shirt year. I think he puts on some weight and some speed. Some weight and some strength. He has long arms. He has a pretty good understanding of pass rush moves. So if you can get him at 285, 290, and he can retain his pass rush ability, then you got a good player. But I don't think we'll get that out of him this year. I agree with Jeff. I would have took the best linebacker available. I think Kyle Lewis may have still been on the board at this point. I would have ran my card up there if I was the Cowboys. But in Christian Parker, we trust. Maybe there's something he sees that we don't. Marcus Dixon, our defensive line coach, may see something that he likes, that he wants to work with, and maybe it'll work out. But just a cursory look before we do anything else, I think he's a red shirt guy. I honestly think he might be the only red shirt draft pick that we have, despite what people say about Malachi Lawrence. I don't think Malachi Lawrence is a red shirt pick. I think this is a red shirt pick. All right, so now we're at our last pick in the draft. We go to the 7th round, and we close it out with another offensive player, and this is wide receiver Anthony Smith out of Eastern Carolina. Now, when I watch him play, he has explosiveness. He has explosive speed. He's a 4.3 runner. His route running is good, not great. It's more of creating separation than running good routes. He does have good playmaking ability. He was a great yard after catch guy or yard after the catch guy. And he has a chance to have some special teams impact. And as I say special teams, Shane Odom comes in. I know we're focused on defense and offense, but I wonder what special teams will look like. We need to at least get past the 30-yard line on kick returns. Now, if Anthony Smith makes the team, I think that's where he's going to benefit. So your comment came right on time, Shane Odom. I think there's a chance that Turpin may not be on this team this offseason. And if he's not, I think this kid is his replacement between him and Blue. Because you see the explosiveness and the separation on tape. I don't think he's going to make this team as a wide receiver. I'll say that. And that's because of his age and his lack of experience in a pro style offense, his lack of production in college, and his inability to be an effective route runner. Like I said, most of his routes were won because he's 6'2" and he runs a 4.3 and he played for East Carolina. And he's probably the best athlete on the field in every game they played. So we go to his strengths. Jeff says he reminds me of Christian Watson. That's a good comparison. I would probably say Christian Watson is a little bit bigger than him. I would probably go, let me see if I can find him. What's the other fast receiver for the Colts? I'm typing in the Colts depth chart right now because that's what he really reminds me of. Alec Pierce. He reminds me of Alec Pierce for the Colts. Now, Alec Pierce had 1,000 yards last year, but it took him 4 years to finally develop into that. Because his first 3 years, he did basically nothing. But I could see him being an Alec Pierce type guy where he's just fast and tall, and he's your fourth option, and he just has a chance to make plays against number 3, number 4 corners. But the speed is there, the explosiveness is there. He definitely creates separation with his quickness. He's really good after the catch. Now, he didn't run a lot of slant routes, so most of his catches were, I'm going to catch a out route and cut up the field, or I'm going to do a double move, run by the corner, catch the ball about 15 yards, and then take it to the house. The way he runs the ball as a receiver, you can see he has special teams value. One thing about him, he doesn't have a second gear. And I don't know if I like that or not. He's fast, but and I hate to say it like it's a bad thing, but he's like a consistently fast. So once he gets started, he's not going to like hit another gear like you see with Turpin, like those type of guys. It takes him a little while to get warmed up, but once he hits that 4.3, he's in it. But he's not a guy who can stop and then start and then be explosive. Now, that won't hurt him if he's a kick returner or a punt returner because they get a little bit of space to get going. But as a wide receiver, I think that's going to hurt him because I don't know if he can separate from NFL corners because he's not going to be having those free releases he had in college. Some of his weaknesses, he has a lean frame. He's kind of a skinny guy, so he definitely needs to add some strength. He needs to be more consistent. Nobody really pressed him in college because of his speed and the lack of talent he played against. But when they did press him, like I just said, he takes a little bit to get that speed going. So it's not like he's just going to come off the line and just blow by you. He needs to build it up. So when guys kind of get in his face and stop him from building up that momentum, they kind of get the better of him. And at the NFL level, that's going to happen every week. He needs to get more development as a route runner. Like I said this about Malachi Lawrence. I'm saying it about him. When you're bigger, stronger, and faster than everybody else, sometimes you can just play off your athleticism. And he did that a lot. And because of that, he didn't really develop a lot of routes to run. Most of his routes were hitch routes, stop and go, out route. That was pretty much it. And then he just run by you. But if you want to watch a really good game for him, go watch that Tulsa game. Had a lot of big plays, ran off on the defense a couple of times. I'll be honest. I think the only way he makes this team is if Turpin leaves, because he's going to be our returner. If he comes in and he's trying to make the team solely as a wide receiver, I don't think he's better than Trayshawn Holden. I don't think he's better than Jalen Marino Cropper. I don't think he's better than what's the other guy on the practice squad that's been on the team for like 3 years? I can't think of his name. But he's not better than Jalen Marino Cropper. He's not better than Trayshawn Holden. Both of those guys have a year experience on him. Both of those guys are really good route runners. While he may be faster than them straight line's not going to be enough to get open in the league. And I think between Flournoy, Trayshawn Holden, Jalen Marino Cropper, 2 of those 3 guys are going to beat him out. So his only hope to make this team, I think he has to be the Turpin replacement as our returner. And I think you're probably going to see him get a lot of opportunities this offseason because I don't think we're going to see a lot of Turpin. I think we're going to see this kid doing some returns. So he's going to have to make some impacts to make this team. If not, he's just going to be another 6'2", 4'3" receiver that's on somebody's practice squad. I know like our fans get tunnel vision. And shouts out to Mendoza joining us. Appreciate you tuning in. I know sometimes our fan base gets tunnel vision and we see a guy on our team. It happens every year. We bring in some freak athlete wide receiver and everybody falls in love with him and say, there's no way this guy won't make the team. Or he's going to be our goal line specialist. Or he's 6'4", runs a 4.3. He's going to beat out Flournoy. We see it every year on this team and every other team. And everybody's practice squad is full of guys who are 6'2" and run a 4.3 because that commodity is not as special as it used to be. Everybody does it now, it seems like. So that's pretty much all I have for tonight's show. We went through all 7 draft picks. Kind of gave you guys my insight on what I'm expecting from them, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and where I see them on the team. We got a lot to be excited about in terms of the guys that we have, especially the top 5 picks. Again, I think they'll all either contribute or have a chance to contribute. Jeff asked a good question. I'll get to that in a minute. But I think those top 5 picks all have a chance to be contributors on this team. The last 2, not so much. But overall, I think we had a really good draft. Don't let the people take you off of Malachi Lawrence. I'm telling you that right now. Malachi has a chance to be really good. He won't be the starter, but he's going to play 50% of the snaps. He's going to provide us some quality pass rush, and he's going to be very productive in the run game and the pass game for a rookie. All right, so Jeff asked the question, why bring in him and MVS? Good question. I would say the reason that we brought in MVS is because if you look at our roster, Lamb's not practicing. Lamb's not playing in training camp. Lamb's not playing in preseason. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens isn't either. Both of those guys are going to be on the sideline watching. So if you're trying to evaluate your quarterbacks, you need to have a veteran on the field who's been there and done that. Because if you look at all of our receivers outside of Lamb and Pickens, nobody has any experience. Flournoy was a 1-year starter. Mingo hasn't touched the field in 5 years, it seems like. Turpin is a special teams guy. Holden was on the practice squad. Jalen Marino Cropper was on the practice squad. We don't have a veteran guy on the field who can get a wide receiver lined up or gives them a trusty guy to throw it to on first and 10 to get 4 yards when all the other guys are running like a chicken with their head cut off trying to score a touchdown every time. So you need an adult in the room. And I think that's why they brought in MVS. I think he's going to be your adult in the room with the second unit. And then, secondly, I just talked about Flournoy. I love Flournoy. I think he's a very explosive player. but he's still a young guy. And outside of those 2 games he had, he really doesn't have any experience. So you don't want to go into a season relying on him to be your number 3 guy because you still don't know what he is. At least if you got MVS, you know you got a number 3 guy who's an adult, who's a veteran, who, if he's playing against the 4th corner on somebody's team and he's getting one-on-one coverage, he has a couple of chances to make some big plays because he's experienced. So I think he's gonna be either your adult for preseason, and he's going to be your backup plan in case Flournoy doesn't take that 2nd, 3rd year leap. Now, Flournoy comes out and you see him being aggressive against the ball and you see him making plays, MVS probably gets cut before week 3 of preseason. But if Flournoy seems like the lights are getting a little bit too bright for him because we put him under the spotlight, then MVS is going to be a really good cushion to help him to transition, put him back in that number 4 spot where you can bring him in and keep that pressure off and let him just make plays and play loose and free. That's why I think they brought in MVS. I would not be surprised if MVS gets cut before the end of training camp. It all depends on what happens with Flournoy and possibly Anthony Smith. Jeff says, do we stick with linebackers as is or bring a vet? Another good question, Jeff. This is my thought. And I said this during the draft. And I keep saying it. Caleb Downs is going to be our green dot guy. If he's not the true green dot, he's going to be heavily involved in getting guys in position. So when you have a guy like that, you don't need to have what we consider a pure Mike linebacker. So you've got a guy like D. Winters, who Fred Warner's praised him. Everybody from the Niners has praised him. He's a very good linebacker. He's good enough to possibly be a starter or a key backup if you need him. Overshown has proved to be talented if he stays healthy. I said this in March. Christian Parker may have looked at Justin Barron and Shamar James and said, I think these guys are good enough to take a year 2 leap and be really good linebackers for this team. And then he went out and drafted Jayshon Barham. And we have Leofau. So if our linebackers that I just named are a little bit too small to hold up in a true 3-4 on 1st and 10, I could throw Leofau in there at 240 and he can go in there and smash that guard or run the gaps. Or I can put Barham in there. So those guys could be our first down linebackers, and then all those other guys could mix in and be our 2nd and 3rd down linebackers. So I think we're probably good at linebacker. I wouldn't be surprised if they make another run for Jordan Brooks, because if you look at the Dolphins depth chart, Jordan Brooks is not the middle linebacker. He's not the Mike. They've got a Mike. But Jordan Brooks is their most expensive linebacker. So that's his first problem. He's your most expensive linebacker. He's not your Mike. Your second problem is, I talked about Kyle Lewis. The Dolphins drafted Kyle Lewis. They also drafted Jacob Rodriguez. So now, neither one of those guys are Mikes either. They're both wheels. So now you've got Kyle Lewis, Jacob Rodriguez, Jordan Brooks, all playing in kind of the same position. Both of those guys are rookies. Jordan Brooks is making $9 million. At some point, they're going to make a financial decision and say, we got our Mike. We just drafted this wheel. Eventually, one of these 2 guys can be a backup Mike, and the other one can start at wheel. Why are we paying Jordan Brooks $8 million and he's on the last year of his contract? Let's cut our losses now, get what we can for him. I think that's going to happen. I would not be shocked if Jordan Brooks gets traded within the next 45 days. And I think Dallas will be at the top of the list. But if not, I think we're pretty good at linebacker right now. If heaven forbid some type of injury happens, Overshown, then I think they may have to put the pressure on and kind of expedite it. But if not, I think we might be good at linebacker. Jeff asked another question. Could MVS possibly make this team as the fifth receiver? Fifth receiver. 1, 2. Yes, he could. They have to figure out what happens with Mingo. If Mingo does not step up, because Mingo's been in the league 4 years now, you would assume he would be your adult in the room with your second unit. The fact that they brought in MVS tells me they're not so sure that he's matured enough to be your second unit leader. So if Mingo can step up and kind of show that he's ready to be a professional and he understands the playbook and the concepts and he can be a reliable guy on the field, then yes, I think MVS gets cut. But if he doesn't and Flournoy doesn't step up, MVS has a chance to be your third receiver, possibly your fourth. So yeah, he can make this team as the third or fourth receiver. It all depends on Flournoy's and Mingo's maturity. And then you also got to throw in a Trayshawn Holden in his second year. Maybe he just steps up so big in preseason that you got to put him on the roster as your fifth receiver because you want to see what he can do in a real game. But yeah, great question, Jeff. MVS was not a George Pickens replacement. George Pickens has more yards in one game than MVS has in the last 2 seasons. He's not a George Pickens replacement. I just want to put that out there. All right, so we're at an hour, 22 minutes. Looks like we're at a good stopping point. Went through all 7 draft picks. Hope you guys got something out of what I said. Hope I made some of you guys feel a little bit better about some of the draft picks that you may have had questions about. Hope I gave you guys a little bit of insight on what the team was looking at, as well as where or what we can expect these guys to be. So next week, we will do a breakdown of all the undrafted free agents. And then after that, we'll take another look at free agency for the third wave, because by that point, we would have gone through rookie mini camp, and all of these teams will have a chance to do their roster development. You'll probably see some more guys get cut from other teams who are names that you recognize, or guys who are older who've been starters. You're probably going to see some teams try to trade guys off, like a Jordan Brooks. Like I just said, he's making $8 million. You just drafted 2 wheel linebackers, and he's not your Mike. So guys like Jordan Brooks will probably be available for trade, or they may get designated post-June 1 cuts. So you got to pay attention to a lot of that, because a guy like Jordan Brooks, if he's not traded, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut post-June 1 to save some of that money, especially if they see Rodriguez and Kyle Lewis are the real deals. So we may get them for free. So just be on the lookout for that. That's why I say the next 45 days. So the next 2 weeks, we're going to do undrafted free agency. Then we're going to take a look at free agency again. We'll do another analysis on each roster spot and team needs and what we should look for. And then we'll look at what's available in free agency. We'll probably have some more guests coming through here, and we'll definitely have some more news and notes as we continue to progress throughout the offseason. So for those of you who are watching, if you enjoyed what you saw, be sure to hit that like button, and also be sure to join us every Wednesday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. This show is fueled by Fifth Quarter Nation. Make sure you guys get in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know topics you want to discuss. And we got nothing but time to discuss them until we get to some real football. So thank you guys for watching. As always, definitely appreciate your support. The views stay pretty consistent. The likes were right there with the views. So shouts out to you guys for that. And as always, let's go Cowboys. I will see you guys next week.